All right, welcome everybody to R and R, relax and rejuvenate. Sometimes it's rejuvenate, sometimes it's or roll and rejuvenate, sometimes it's roll and relax. So today I hope it's both. So I have a few different balls I just wanted to show you. If you have a lacrosse ball, my recommendation would be to probably go to the wall today, just so that it's not too intense. If you have something similar to what I have or a tennis ball, you probably could be able to lay on top of it. So we are going to focus on the glutes and the low back, one of my favorite places to roll. We also did it in one session last week. And the reason I like to do that is because it's a really large muscle. And it's an area, of course, that we sit a lot on, and our muscles kind of get what I can't even remember where I heard this, but gluteal amnesia, right? So they forget how to fire. So we want to start to bring some movement, some circulation in there, and get those muscles remembering how to work. And also it's a great way to just break up some adhesions. So we're going to start in a seated position. And if you would rather, I don't have a chair here, but if you would rather sit in a chair or on a stool, you could do this instead of being on the floor. You can just sit up on something. Cross your right ankle over your thigh. If you're on the floor like I am, you can go ahead and do this a couple of ways. You could be here. So what we're doing is starting to open up the hip. And then if you're able to pick up your shin, supported your hand on your ankle, make your foot nice and stiff so that you're not pulling, we're never pulling on our foot, you're holding at the ankle. And then you're just gonna find a little bit of movement here, kind of a seesaw sort of movement. You can have your hand like I do underneath your calf. You might have your knee in the crook of your elbow. It's really whatever feels good. So just get a sense of how this right glute feels. And then bring your ankle down on top of your thigh and allow the knee just to open as it needs to. If you're really tight, the knee's going to be a little bit closer towards your chest. It's all good. If that's too much and it hurts your knee, foot can go on the inside of the thigh or calf. If you want more stretch, let yourself hinge forward, lengthening through the spine. And you could also bend your knee and start to bring your body a little bit closer to the thigh. We could do this a little bit different. We could bring a couple different ways. Hands could press in, and then I could move my hips back and forth. So I can kind of move my body, or I could plant my hips and let my chest come forward and back. So I get a little bit more stretch there. And this is always what feels good to you. That's why I like to give lots of options so that you can find the one that works best for you. So get a sense of how that tissue feels. And then let's go ahead and move to the other side. So sitting up nice and tall, sitting right on top of your sits bones, go ahead and grab hold of your foot, ankle. On this side, I'm a little bit different. I like to have my knee in the crook of the elbow. On the other side, I don't know why, I like to go underneath. So just find a little bit of rocking. Again, you can go low, you could go up and down, you could straighten. Just get a sense for this left glute now. So I always like to do a little bit of stretching, get a sense of how these muscles feel, do some rolling, and then come back and check and see what changed. Foot now, keep the foot stiff, ankle on top of your thigh, or if that's too much on your knee, bring your foot down and you can hinge forward. So never ever do we want to feel pain, especially in a joint. So we might work up to a place of pain and then back it down a little bit. So it's always about checking in, experimenting. And each side is likely going to feel different. If you want more, you can go ahead and bend them. Remember what we did, set, shift back, or and move your chest forward and back. So start to get an idea of your left side compared to your right. Kind of the quality of your tissue. So right now we're focusing on the glutes. All right. Now go ahead and grab the ball that you're going to use. And I'm going to show you on the floor, but know that you can always go up to the wall. Okay. So if you have a lacrosse ball, again, my recommendation would be to go to the wall. So coming down onto the floor, if you're on the floor or against the wall, press into your feet, lift your hips up. You want to place the ball right in the center of your right cheek, right glute. Okay. Let your weight fall down onto it. So just let it be heavy here and take a few breaths. If you're up against the wall, we're having to kind of lean against the wall, feet away, and then you just relax your upper body here. Then start to move your hips from side to side so that it travels side to side. And then in order for you to find a new spot, once you've done 5 or 6 times, then you go ahead and move it up just a little bit. So you find some new tissue, hips back and forth, and then keep moving it up. So we're going to do something a little different that we hadn't done last week. So if you were in class with me, so keep swishing side to side. You're moving up towards the top of the pelvis, so the rim of the hip where the muscles connect into the bone. So you're going to get into tendinous tissue, and it might feel a little tender. So if you notice something that is too tender, just take a break, take a moment, breathe into it. If it's too much, you can always roll around it. So once you've gotten all the way up to the top and you have done a few swishes back and forth, bring it back down to where you started and then go lower, just a few. And what you might start to recognize is you'll come upon a kind of a bony area at the lower end of your glute. And that's your sits bones. We often say sits bones, ischial tuberosity. That's a mouthful. But that's where your hamstring attaches into. And you might see if that is tender. All right. Now come on back and bring the ball into the center of your cheeks, your glutes. I'm referring to your lower cheeks, of course. And then let your knees fall to the right a little bit. So start slow here, because what you're doing is you're pinning the ball into your gluteal tissue and you're letting your knees drop to the right. And this can be pretty intense. If you feel anything zingy, right? We've got our sciatic nerve there. So if anything feels zingy, nervy, then I want you to move the ball to a different location. We don't want to create nerve pain. We don't want to activate or aggravate sciatica. But I have had lots of people that have sciatic issues and the rolling has helped them. So it's really about listening and not going beyond what is comfortable for you. Now you can do those little knee movements off to the side and then just start to play a little bit with moving the ball out to the sides of the tissue. So oftentimes we focus right in this general area, right? Kind of the meat of our bum. Now what I want you to do is move to the side a little bit and you're getting into the glute medius and minimus. So instead of the maximus. So you don't have to know any of that. It's just notice as you go to the outer side, many of us will feel some tenderness there. If you're feeling like this is pretty good, or maybe it's too intense, a great thing to do is come to the wall and then begin to explore that whole side there. I really like it this way. And I would encourage you, if you're finding some good spots, come back to this. So use some of these techniques. It's a great thing to do just to get away from your desk and take a moment. You could even do it against the wall, roll the bum a little bit, and then go to the side. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. All right. Now let's go ahead, lift up the hips, place the ball in the low back, just above the pelvis, and to the right of the spine, and then take a few little swishes right to left, side to side. This is going to be a little quicker. So side to side, and then keep moving the ball up the spine. Sorry, not the spine, but along the spine. So to the right of the spine. And you're just moving the ball up 3-4 little swishes, bringing a little blood flow to the spinal muscles until we get just below the ribs. You don't want to get into the ribs. And then move it down. And once again, if you're finding some good stuff, I encourage you to come back and spend some time on your own in some of these areas that you notice. These are great practices to do, and they don't have to take a long time. All right, push into your feet and lift up. Come back down onto the floor without the ball, or if you're standing, you're just going to stand away from the wall. Take a moment to feel what is different from the side that you rolled compared to the side that you haven't. Now push into your feet and place the ball underneath the center of left glute. Find that side to side movement. And for many of us, we're going to notice different qualities of the tissue from the left side to the right side. I definitely do. And then keep moving it up. I've also been doing some different activities, and so my muscles feel quite different than they normally do. Okay, you're going to move all the way up to just underneath the hip bone, the crust of the hip, and then come back to the center and explore downward a little bit, moving towards your sits bone. Then start to move it out to the side a little bit, experimenting with maybe the knees dropping over to the left. So I like to just move my knees, kind of they move constantly over to the left and then back up as I continue to move the ball to a different spot every time. So in between, my knees go up through the center, and that's when I pick up the ball and move it to a different spot. You can start to move it to the outer hip a little bit, and this also might be a great time to roll against the wall. So I'll leave it up to you. If you feel like you want to spend more time on that outer hip, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the low back just in the essence of time. Come to the top of the hip, and it's just to the left of your spine, and find just a little bit of movement side to side. Pay attention to your breathing. So if you've hit some spots that are really tender, or maybe they're really tight, you might have noticed that you are holding your breath, or maybe you're not breathing as fully. Okay, so keep moving up the spine, paying attention to differences from side to side. And also noticing if there's areas that you want to come back to. And then bringing it back down so you've come up to just below the ribs. And then slowly pick up the hips and then come back down. Take a moment just to notice both sides. See if you have a sense of maybe warmth, blood flow. And then let's draw the knees to the chest. Find a gentle rock from side to side. And now to check out the glutes here, we're going to come into the same sort of stretch, but we're going to do it on our back. So left foot comes down, right ankle goes over thigh, If you want to, you can press out on the thigh, or you can hug left thigh in. I like to find a little bit of rocking. So if you find some shifting from side to side as you hug that left thigh in, notice how it changes the stretch, changes the angle of the stretch. Hope you guys are feeling pretty good here. And then let's bring it back through center, switching sides as we finish up. Left ankle over right, and then hugging it in. Feel free to find some movement. And just some easy breaths here. What we want not only is to open up these areas that we're rolling, but we also want to create this relaxation response. So as you start to get more opening of the tissue, more slide and glide, we can help our bodies to move waste out, but we can also help to draw water in and the things that we need to have more mobility. All right, let's bring the feet down, roll yourself to your side. I'm going to go ahead and sit up, but if you guys want to stay on the floor and do some more stretching or just enjoy relaxing, please do. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you'll join me next week, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And as always, if you guys have questions about what to roll with or any of that kind of thing, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer.